the future of digital assets, identifying the regulatory gaps in the digital asset market structure. We've got a unique opportunity as members of this subcommittee to be on the cutting edge of crafting an effective, functional regulatory system for the digital assets ecosystem. At this very moment, Chair Johnson and members of the House Agriculture Committee are also holding a similar hearing discussing this same issue. That means that more than 40 members of the U.S. House have an opportunity to work together to ensure that our regulatory framework embodies the key principles of the same activity, same risk, same regulation. Two committees working hand in hand on a joint legislative product like this is unprecedented, and I believe it vastly increases our chances of getting it right. Why is legislation needed? The SEC and the CFTC have created an impossible situation where the same firms are subject to competing enforcement actions by the two different agencies. Absent legislation, our regulators are only pushing entrepreneurs, developers, and job creators offshore out of the U.S. system. We have a responsibility to protect our constituents. There are glaring gaps in consumer and investor protections, and regulation by enforcement does nothing to fill that gap. And contrary to arguments by some that the problem is simply nonconformity or noncompliance, it's much more complicated than that. Also, money transmission licenses, as Mr. Gorfine notices, points out, they're insufficient in scope. So today we're going to dive into the current rules that govern our securities and commodity markets and assess how we can address these potential gaps. First, we'll examine the current test to determine if a digital asset is offered as a part of an investment contract and therefore a security. Currently, the SEC and the CFTC disagree on the classification of many digital assets, which is unworkable for entrepreneurs and consumers. The agencies need direction from Congress. Second, the current disclosure regime does not produce information that a reasonable consumer would need to know before considering the purchase of a digital asset. The information that's relevant to the purchaser of a digital asset is different from the information that's relevant when an investor considers purchasing a stock of a public company. Third, we'll explore whether digital asset trading platforms perfectly fit under existing laws and regulations and the rules applicable to digital asset trading platforms.